Do you ever wonder if schools are actually teaching kids useful skills that are going to help them in the real world? If you're a therapist or a teacher who's working with kids and you've ever asked yourself this question, then definitely stick around. I'm going to explain that in the next few minutes. My name is Karen Dudek-Brannan, and I help pediatric therapists who are working with school age kids to be better leaders so that they can make a bigger impact with their services. And I have seen a lot of discussions lately questioning about the usefulness a lot of the skills that are being taught in schools. And a lot of people feel like the things that kids are learning now are not very useful to the real world. And I agree with that. I agree that there are things that schools can be doing better to help kids in the real world. But I'm a little bit concerned and disheartened by the way that people are talking about the school systems now, because there are actually a lot of things going on in the school systems that are actually working. And so a lot of school professionals and administrators are doing things right. And so what I aim to do when I am supporting clinicians and educators is to pull out those things that are working, because I think the negative narrative that's going on right now isn't super helpful. I think that a lot of people have this mindset of all or nothing and we've got to just burn the whole house down. I don't think that's true. I don't think we need to throw the baby out with the bathwater. I think we need to actually look at what's going on. And yes, there are some things that need to be added, but first we need to look at what's actually working. So because my background is in language and literacy, one of the things that I teach clinicians who are working on language skills is to support students' syntax skills. And a lot of people question that because working on the parts of a sentence, in some fashion, it seems like kind of a rote drill activity. A lot of times it's worked on with worksheet type activities, and it's not very functional the way a lot of people are doing it. And I think that those types of sentence diagramming things, especially for kids who have a hard time processing language, I think they kind of get a bad rap because a lot of people think they're not very functional and useful. But I actually focus a lot on syntax in my programs for SLPs, for example, because a lot of kids who have processing issues that are impacting their ability to read and write and just be able to get the big picture of what they're reading, and then also be able to write cohesively when they're writing essays and things like that. A lot of those issues can be tied back to syntax, and a lot of people don't realize that, because what's happening is that a lot of kids can't get the big picture of what they're trying to read because they're trying so hard to understand one sentence at a time. When they're reading these texts and they are reading these complex sentence types, kids who have language processing issues and also who have issues with vocabulary, maybe they're not reading a lot, they don't have a lot of background knowledge, syntax tends to be a sticky point for a lot of these kids because they don't have a concept of the different sentence types that are often coming up in text. And so as a result, they're reading something, we're asking them to state the main idea, we're asking them to answer questions about what they read, and we're asking them to comprehend entire paragraphs when they're just having a hard time understanding individual words and sentences. So when we work on syntax the right way, using strategies that aren't just rote drill, but actually teach kids something in a very structured setting, but strategically work up to something that's more challenging, that requires a lot of integration of skills. When we do that the right way, it can actually be really powerful. And a lot of times people are just thinking, oh, this is just, again, like it doesn't work. It's rote drill. Well, for a lot of kids, they don't necessarily need you to sit down and work on specific sentence types. But if you have a child who is struggling with comprehension, working on syntax, specifically complex sentence types, can make a huge difference. So this is actually something that I go through in depth in my Language Therapy Advanced Foundations program. This specific program is designed for SLPs who want a system for language therapy. So supporting those kids who really need to build the language skills needed for reading and writing. This program is designed for them, or really any other professional who has an intensive focus on language and literacy. So to learn more about that, so you can learn more about how you can build your students' syntax skills, that you can go to drkarenspeech.com/language therapy. And on that enrollment page, you'll learn all about the different framework that I teach for building language processing skills, with syntax being one of those skills. Again, that's drkarenspeech.com/language